know something interesting is sure to happen. Well, I think you ought to tell me who you are first. Mr. Rabbit? Then why did you ask the question?
Goodness, this is quite extraordinary.
Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?
But today is turning into the most curious adventure I have ever had.
Welcome to the Alice in Wonderland podcast. I'm Georgia Ellis, and thank you once again for joining me as I tumble down yet another rabbit hole. Today, I'm jamming with the rhythmic ringmaster himself, Tom Morley. And you never know, we might actually get some rhythms happening in this podcast. That would be a first. But let me just introduce a little bit about Tom. So following his time in the music business with the 80s band Scritti Politti, Tom has developed a truly artistic way of living where every experience leads him to the humorous uncovering of some universal truth. He turns his disasters and successes into stand-up comedy for conference audiences around the world. He has spent 40 years on stage, first behind a drum kit, then as the multi-talented frontman for whole troops of performers, earning him that title of the rhythmic ringmaster. In my mind, Tom is a creative genius, or dare I say, a polymath. He has a knack of making creative energy sustainable. I have had the joy of participating and witnessing him on numerous occasions, guiding entire groups, either in person or online, to experience what is known as group flow. He turned the pandemic on its head by creating connection and play through online events. He proved to organizations that teams can absolutely connect and be fully engaged online. So let's get curious. Welcome, Tom. There's a giggle.
It's so good to be the rhythmic ringmaster again. I think I can control everything, but I changed my branding to being the Rockstar Activator about 6 months ago. But it's all over the net. It's all over my website. But somehow you've got hold of the rhythmic ringmaster thing, but which is fine. It's fine. I can't control everything. It's an irony that I run a team building company, but man, I don't like teams. I try and do everything myself. And this is a great example of me not even being able to send you the right bio.
That's totally all right, because we can get into Rockstar Activation a little bit into the podcast. So actually, that is a really great topic for us to unpack. But before we do,
go on.
Before we do, there is one question that I ask all of my guests, and it helps us to sort of get a bit of an understanding of who Tom is. So I want you just to imagine for a moment that I am a 7-year-old Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and I'm making my way through Wonderland, skipping along, and I come across Tom Morley standing there in front of all of his amazing, beautiful mixers and mics and drums and everything. And I look at you and I go, Mr. Morley, what do you do? Why are you here on this planet? Why are you in Wonderland? What's your purpose? How would you answer that question to a 7-year-old?
Well, I'd say, first of all, well done for following that rabbit, because a lot of people wouldn't. It says in the story, Alice was sleepy. She could have gone to sleep, but instead she saw the rabbit and at first wasn't that bothered that the rabbit was speaking, saying, I'm going to be late. She said, yeah, fair enough. But it was the waistcoat and the pocket watch that got her attention. And she followed the rabbit and, it was in a real mess, falling down that rabbit hole. It went on for ages. So first of all, I'd say, well done for not being phased. I'm down here in the same way. I fell down the same rabbit hole when I was a teenager. I experimented with a few things, and then I thought, do you know what? The paradigm of the world has been set up all wrong. it's based around competition, and it should be based around collaboration. Doesn't take much. You only have to move a few letters around to make that a more kind of loving word and a more loving world. So I just thought I'll dedicate my life to that. And I seem to be quite good, because I'm shy. I seem to be quite good at bringing people together, because I can see the tensions in any group and how to diffuse them. So I would say, look around 7-year-old Alice and see all this stuff that's available to us. All this color, all these things getting bigger and smaller, and, places to explore, angry people, sleepy people, tea parties that go on forever. Look around, and I'd probably say, look, I need an assistant. Do you fancy coming along? I'll tell you what I know, and you tell me what you know, and together we'll change the world from your perspective and my perspective, because I'm 66 now and you're 7. So my 61 years might be of use to you, but your 7 years will definitely be of use to me.
Wow. That's one of the most profound answers I've ever had. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. There's so many things that we can pull apart with what you've just said there as well. So where to start? Potentially around the competition and the paradigm that you noticed as a teenager, as a 17-year-old. So how does a 17-year-old notice that the world is made up of competition? How did that aha moment or that revelation come to you?
Well, I mean, I was the youngest of 4 boys in a poor family. So my brothers, I love them all, but they seemed like a gang of 3 to me, and I was this rather sensitive artist. They were always off building camps, and so I noticed there was a competition from, I don't know, from the moment I could sort of see anything that was going on. They were telling me I was doing things wrong, and I should be doing it like them, or if this amazing thing, this changed my life when I was about 4. We lived near a rubbish dump, and we used to go and sort of rummage around in the rubbish. As you could do that in those days. There was no health and safety. There's no one saying get off. You cut yourself or anything like that. So we used to go and kind of see. It was our playground, really. And one day they found this kind of curved bit of metal. It was brass, I remember, and they couldn't work out what it was. And I was very shy. I didn't really speak. And when we got home, I just put my shoe on and off with it. It was a shoehorn, an ornate shoehorn. I knew that straight away. And my life changed, because they said, blimey, he knows something. The 3 of them couldn't work it out. And I've had that kind of relationship with the world all my life. So I just saw it was competitive. Well, I experienced it as being competitive all the time. I was growing up because of them. And I saw competitions between them as well. Of course, boys, imagine 4 boys in a poor family. We're going to fight, aren't we? We're going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to try and win. So competition just seemed to be the world. And then, of course, I was very lucky. I grew up in the time of flower power. So everything that hippies used to expand their consciousness, I used at school. It was all available. So consequently, I had an experience, well, I had lots of experiences of competition not being the be all and end all, but I could see how everything was linked, and how competition in nature is only for survival. It's not for any status update. Which it was so funny when Facebook first came out and they said update your status. I thought, blimey, that it's like update your status in a consumer society. I've always been amazed that the government would talk about us as consumers in a consumer society. I always think, what you're letting us know that's how you think of us. It's the same with update your status. A whole platform was built around this compete. Here's my office. Those, they make me sick. Those today's office. Nobody says, here I am on the rubbish dump. It's my playground because I haven't got any money. Here I am in Bali. Here I am in Thailand. Here I am. Who gives a flying? It's status update, and then they changed it to, what are you up to? But I'm afraid the game was up, because social media is all about updating your status, and I embrace it, of course, because I need to make money. I'm in the competitive world. So yeah, people say I overshare. My only marketing policy is tell the whole world what I'm doing all the time. If 99% of people hate me for it, fine. If 1% love me, that's cool. If 0.0.0.1% of those people employ me, I'm happy. And they do.
Awesome. I love how you really noticed that, because I'd never really thought about it before around this status update. And we think about, competition does create this status, and then we're all sitting there going, well, this is my status right now. What's your status? It is competition. So really, really interesting eye opener. And I also notice how you're managing to use the two polarities of social media. So yes, there is, I guess we'll call it the dark side, the status side, the competition side, but there's also the good side of, spreading joy, spreading collaboration, making a difference, and sharing to the world your gifts and what you do. So you seem to be navigating that really well, which is awesome. And for the listeners, if you're not following Tom Morley on either LinkedIn, are you on Instagram?
Yeah.
On Instagram or Facebook, because I follow you on LinkedIn and Facebook. It's amazing. You've just got to jump on board and follow his humorous and his artistic videos and everything. But anyway, we're not going to plug you just yet. We'll do that at the end.
Thanks. I just want to say before we leave that the whole thing about people say, oh, you can't, you share too much, you give too much away. You'll have these algorithms sending you adverts. I don't care. The more I educate the algorithm that I like pirate hats or pirate shoes, or then they just tailor these adverts. They take the work away from me. I know with social media, it's a deal we make with the devil, that they are going to know all about me. I really don't care, because they've provided a platform for me to broadcast to the world. It's such an easy trade for me. And people complain, they say, but I get these ads. Who?
But you're only getting.
If you don't like the adverts, don't buy anything. It's that easy. And if you if people don't know this, if you really want to tailor adverts to stuff you like, anytime an advert comes in and you think, actually, I would buy that, click on it, go through the whole process to the point where you're about to pay for it. Don't pay for it. And then they will go, blimey, he nearly paid for that, or she nearly paid for that. Right, we'll get her next time. And so then all the peripheral ads disappear. You only get, so you just got to train the algorithm.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. And I'll share a story. Like my partner and I decided that we needed a new sofa. So of course I went onto Google and just had a look at sofas just once. And then my Instagram feed and my Facebook feed are full of sofas from all of these different outlets. And I thought, well, this is saving me time, isn't it? And I'm just clicking on each one. No, I don't want you. Next one. Click on. So yes, it does actually save us time, but you can tailor it to actually do the work for you. It can become your personal research assistant if you really want it to. So, beautiful. Yeah. So we went from competition, and you mentioned to young Ellis that you noticed that, we can move away from competition to collaboration. And you mentioned that, as a teenager, you had a beautiful experience where you noticed that we're all connected, and this led to more of a collaborative outlook on life. So what then happened then for you? How did you then start nurturing this collaborative wisdom that you had experienced?
Well, I was at the 1970 Isle of Wight festival, rock festival, with Jimi Hendrix and The Who and everyone. Joni Mitchell, when I say I was with them, I wasn't on stage. I was about 15. But I noticed there was a guy there called John Sebastian. Do you know the Loving Spoonful? John Sebastian was the guitarist and one of the singers, songwriters. And this is going to answer your question about collaboration, because some people would come on and they'd be a bit overwhelmed by the audience. And they say, let me hear you sing along. There might be a song that we knew or maybe we didn't know. And then they'd say, I can't hear you. And then we go, all right, we'll sing a bit louder then. The sun's shining, we like you. I can't hear. And then in the end, we just thought, look, mate, we're doing our best, all right? Please don't insult us. We're singing at the top of our lungs. And then John Sebastian came on and he did Nashville Cats. And he said, yeah, sing along if you want. He went, Nashville Cats. Nashville Cats. And he leaned away from the mic. So we could just about hear him. He didn't reprimand us or anything. But if we wanted to hear the song as we wanted to hear it, properly, with clean as country water in there, we had to sing it. So he didn't say, I can't hear you. He was so cheeky. And he kind of spoke to us. I was quite near the front, but he spoke to everybody as if we were just in his front room. It was amazing. And then I think he was followed by Joni Mitchell, who, of course, an amazing guitarist, singer, songwriter. And she was really moody. She said, look, I'm playing songs up here and you're talking. Please be quiet. She's talking to thousands and thousands of people. And then she said, And I thought she claimed that I'm sure it's on film. She said, well, you're not as good as the Woodstock crowd. She wasn't even at Woodstock. She didn't go. And man, did she. So I learned, pretty much my whole team building business was based around that experience and something my grandmother told me.
Well, share I'm talking about collaboration. So what did your grandmother tell you?
Collaboration. All right, I'll tell you one more thing about collaboration, which my grandmother told me around the same time. She was in the Second World War in the Blitz in London. And they used to go down into the subway stations in the underground when the bombs were dropping. And they were, they grabbed whatever they could, bedding, flasks of tea, whatever. And the adults could sleep, but the kids couldn't sleep. They were so, because you could hear this kind of vibration. So what they did was they sang to the children. Now, did they just get the singers to sing? No. Did they say, I'll have to go to singing lessons for 3 months before I can sing in public? No, they just sang, right? And then anyone who was a singer would harmonize and the kids would sleep. So it became this sort of crash workshop in collaboration and vocal harmony. So I realized from that, and I realized from my own time when my mum died when I was 13 and the whole family split apart. But I realized you can either come together in a crisis or you can separate and hide basically till it's all over. And so really I've spent my life saying, look, we are in a crisis. I mean, we are now. We're in a climate crisis. We're in an economic crisis. We pretend we're not. We go down to Starbucks and say, can I have an extra shot, please? And let me feel a bit better. But all of us, the whole world is in crisis. So that's why I'm trying to bring people together all the time to say, look, if we get through our inhibitions, if we say, I don't need 3 months to prepare, like those people singing in the underground, we've just got to do it now. The kids are scared. Then, it's fun. It's funny you chose Alice, 7-year-old Alice, because I can feel her as I'm talking to you. I can feel her saying, yes, come on, adults. You're meant to know everything. That's why Greta Thunberg was and is such an inspiration. But when she first appeared and was so young and so, come on. I mean, you could not say no to her, could you?
No, and I think one of the things that if we go back to the way you answered the question around, 7-year-old Alice, is that the way that you answered it that I found was really profound was that we tend to discredit the wisdom of children,
Mm,
because when we can actually turn to children because they haven't yet been infected by the paradigm of society, hopefully. And so we get this really beautiful, um, pristine approach or perspective to the world, and if we really tune in, we can hear their wisdom in that. And a lot of us laugh it off, or we poke fingers at them or fun at them or whatever it might be. But I think what you're saying there is we're neglecting this part of humanity that carries wisdom until we take that wisdom away. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And it's not an airy fairy notion of wisdom, the inner child, so innocent, floating. I was anxious all the time as a child because I could see this. But I think you're right. The word paradigm keeps coming up for me at the moment because of COVID. It's a paradigm shift across the world, whether we recognize it or not. That they haven't said, "Oh, I'm a 7-year-old in the consumer society. I must compete." They'll compete with their siblings, maybe, but they're not thinking, "I've got to compete with everybody, even if class grades are based on it." You just think, "Oh, well, this is just the thing that happens at school." You don't think it's the world, because
mm.
you experience playing in nature or playing with your pets or something. You don't think, "Oh, I'm competing with a tree, it won't let me climb up it."
No, not at all. And one of the beautiful things around the work you do, and which I witnessed, especially at the start of the pandemic back in early 2020, was
Mm,
these beautiful live events where you had people collaborating in a musical way. And
mm, mm,
um, it was such a beautiful thing to be a part of, because I was a part of a couple of groups that you hosted, or you were a
mm,
guest on, but also witnessing the aftermath of some of the videos that you created, and just seeing the joy and the connection that was being created through this. You were the Rockstar Activator, but you really were an amazing ringmaster, bringing all
mm,
these people together who were
mm,
experiencing a crisis.
mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have to take responsibility for that. It is something I've learned to do from seeing others do. And I'm actually, I was a very shy child. I'm a shy person. I'm an introvert. Probably if you had to profile me, you'd say, yeah, he's an introvert. However, introverts are some of the keenest observers of the world, because we're always going, all right, I'll join in when I'm ready. Let me suss it out first. Um, so, yeah, doing those events is great. It takes quite a lot out of me energetically. I love doing it, of course. But the great thing, they say the best way for an introvert is to relax if they've been out too far, is to concentrate on one small thing for a long time. So to have that filmed, gather all the footage, all and bring all the energy of it, and go, right, now I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to make this little movie, and it's going to encapsulate. It's absolutely perfect for me. I've designed myself the kind of perfect introvert life, because it is, I've taught myself to go out and have an impact, but then I've also taught myself to recover by doing something useful. So I'd recommend it as a model. I did think of writing a book once, How to Be Me, and write it as if I'd lost my memory, and I'd put all those things in it. Tom, you're you're an introvert, right? But if you want to change the world, you've got to go out and connect people. But don't worry, because if you go too far, you can come back and make a movie about it. Does that make sense to you? I
I think
might write that book
that's
one day.
beautiful, 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 beautiful advice. I also am an introvert, do a lot of speaking and in front of large audiences, and I'm wrecked at the end of the day. I'm spent. So
Yeah.
what you're suggesting there is this beautiful active recovery. So you still get that time. So as introverts, we recover, or we re-energize in our own little cocoon.
Yeah.
That you've
I
got
love it.
something really, yeah, you've got something active to do in that cocoon. And depending on how much energy I've spent, sometimes the cocoon is just sitting on the couch reading a book. But yeah, I love, like you, after an event, grabbing the feedback, putting it together and creating a post, and there's no one else around me. It's just me in my little office.
No one else. Yeah. And you can edit it. Yeah, I've never heard those words, active recovery, before, but that is, that's what I do. So,
Mm. Yeah. And it's just a little FYI, active recovery is part of the flow cycle. So, when we experience flow, we have the struggle, and then we drop into, then we have to release, and then we drop into flow. And then if we don't recover, so you're having these beautiful moments of flow when you're out there with everyone. And what you're doing is all of these amazing neurochemicals are being released from the brain, and you're now drained from them. They're drained from your body afterwards. So therefore you're now re-energizing or refueling with something that you actually love to do, and those chemicals are rebuilding while you're doing active recovery. And then you're actually better off for the next round of flow.
Wow. So
You've
I'm
been
doing
doing
like
it.
those animals do when they've been chased by a lion and they get away. They
And they
just
shake.
stand and shake. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In making my movies, I'm doing the equivalent.
Yeah. You're just
Well,
letting, you're
thank you
just
very much.
releasing a little bit
I'm
of cross education right now.
Yeah, I'm so glad people don't think of me as a flow expert, because I obviously know absolutely nothing.
And look, I'm not a flow expert either. Let's just hand that back to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the father of flow, and he can own that. But what you may not be the expert in the science behind flow, but you definitely are an amazing activator of flow. So let's go back to this Rockstar Activator that you mentioned earlier, because I didn't. I had an old bio, however that happened. So talk us through a little bit of this Rockstar activation. What's that entail?
Well, it entailed, I mean, can you imagine a shy person, 66-year-old, thinking, how can I brand myself? And actually picking up the word rock star. I mean, it shouldn't be allowed. But I was at a conference. I was with a mate of mine, Jamil Qureshi, who's a big speaker on high-performing teams. And he studied sports people a lot. And that's originally how he got into it, because in sport, we pushed ourselves to the limit physically, so we can only extend our kind of excellence by working with our minds. So anyway, he saw me come off stage and he said, basically he said, Tom, you're not the rhythmic ringmaster, you're a Rockstar Activator. He said, I've been watching the crowd. They look like rock stars. And I said, that's weird, because the only thing anyone ever wants to talk to me in the bar afterwards, besides all my serious teams, Belbin, Myers-Briggs, all they want to say is, what was it like on tour? What was it like being a rock star in Scritti Politti? And of course, they're vicariously, they've had a much better time as a rock star in my life than I did, because a lot of it was waiting around, losing equipment, kind of losing hotel keys. They just thought we were partying all the time when we weren't on stage. So I had 20 years of that, of, from, CEOs down saying, yeah, well, just tell us about the music business. And that's where the value was often for them, in those bar conversations. So I thought, well, okay, if that's what Jamil sees, and he's an expert, he gets paid a lot of money. I mean, he's one of the hardest working men on the conference speaking scene, because he's so good. I thought, well, if he's saying it, I'm just going to take it. I'm not even going to argue. I'm not going to say, let's tweak it. I just said, we'll do it. And I changed my website, I think the following day. And then I put it on LinkedIn. And there's something about that word, rock star. There's, it appears all over the place. People say, "Oh, you're a rock star cafe owner. You're a rock star theater designer." It's become this word for superlative. I don't know. Well, it's just, and it's quite soft actually. It's you don't. It's weird because before I used it, I thought it was this hallowed thing. And then when I started using it, I thought, it's just a word. It's just a word we use. Say, you're very good at this. That's basically what it says. You're very good at this. And actually, I know sorry to be thinking out loud, but the trick of it is to actually say, yes, I'm good at it and I'm going to own it. That is the hard thing, to call yourself a rock star of something, because
I love that.
some people who judge you say, well, all right, let me check if you're a rock star. Are you in the Hall of Fame in Nashville? No. Were you on this TV program? No. Well, you're not a rock star. Then you go, well, am I? Aren't I? What is this criteria?
And it's interesting though, because I love that what you said there, anyone can be the rock star of whatever it is, but are you owning it? So I have a question for you. You may or may not be able to answer this. Do you believe from the work that you've done that everyone has a little bit of a rock star within them?
I'm convinced of it, because it's another word for chi, or it's another word for energy. It's another word for, when I was growing up, when people were meditating, having taken all their drugs and trying to get there naturally, they'd call it human potential. We're part of the human potential movement. I'm not sure what they call it now, but it's they probably call it, come to my 3-day workshop in Bali. You'll have an amazing life. It's all gone crazy, but sorry if you do things in Bali. I love Bali.
I don't.
And I love doing courses there. But you know what I mean? It's human potential was more like, okay. So if I meditate for 2 years, I'll get to this level. If I meditate for 5 years. So it's a more kind of measured thing, rather than come to my shaman workshop, I'll give you a certificate on Sunday. I always say to people, when if they invite me to their shaman workshop, I say, well, how are you going to get us all buried up to our necks for 7 days without any food and water in the desert? Because that's stage one. I go, oh, yeah. Well, I thought maybe we'd just sort of bang a drum a bit and say, anyway, sorry, what was the question?
No. We're going down a rabbit hole and we were just there with you. So it's totally okay. Just something you said then, which I think is a really nice segue and invitation for us to go a little bit further, was around, when people invite you to your weekend getaway and you get your certificate after 2 days, but you're going, well, hang on a minute. When are we going to bury them in the sand, in the dirt up to their neck for, that's only stage one. Do you find that people are hoping that you're going to come along and be this magic fix for, a 2-hour talk or a conference or a workshop? Do you find that they think you're going to have the magic pill that's going to last forever? And do you have that magic pill?
Well, I do, but only because I know it's in them, and all I have to do is activate it, and I can activate it in 10 minutes. It's very, I've got one of the easiest jobs in the world. I activate something that they've been trying to activate with relationships, with food, with drink, with work, with promotion, basically with competition. And I just activate it with collaboration. It's very easy.
Yeah.
And it's the thing is, it's in there. It's dying to be activated. It's not even it's not even difficult. I'm someone walking around the world with a magic wand. Everyone's going, oh, you're a magician. I go, no, look in your back pocket. You got one as well. Everyone's got one. Oh, it's just having the cheek to use it.
Yeah, I love that you say the cheek, because you can be really cheeky and humorous. I know we met for our listeners. Tom and I met in just before the pandemic hit. Actually, we were in Santa Cruz and doing some work with the Flow Genome Project, and Jamie Wheel, in this most beautiful way, called you the jester, and that was such a compliment, because the jester, if we think about it, is somebody who is, we go back to back in the times, the jester was the person that was highly intelligent, that was the only person in the village who could poke fun at the king and still stay alive. And you have this a beautiful knack of bringing comedy and humor to, I'm going to say, king being our own foibles, our own fears, and you can actually bring them out for us, which I think is a beautiful gift. So one of my questions, and one of the things I'm curious about, is how did you move from being in a band to now doing the talking circuit and going into team collaboration? What was the juncture, and how did that come about?
All right. Well, I wasn't going to talk about this, but of course it's come up.
You don't have to.
No, it's okay. There's an option always open to everybody in the music business, especially the more and more successful you get, is to have a nervous breakdown. And I duly looked at my calendar and thought, oh, yeah, it's time for me to have my breakdown, as the band sort of split up in its early incarnation. So out of that, and I'm saying this because of the jester thing as well, speaking truth to power, that I dropped lower than I imagined I could go, to the point where I couldn't listen to music, I couldn't talk about music, I couldn't feel anything to do with anything I'd done before had gone. I remember looking out I bought this little apartment in central London. It was like living in a hotel. It was an apartment block. And I remember looking out the window and seeing a guy load boxes into the back of a van in the hotel opposite. And I thought, that lucky guy, what he does, he gets up, he goes to work, and he takes boxes in and out of that van. And then he goes home and maybe has a drink with his mates or something. I thought, I would give anything to live his life because it has some purpose. I'd lost absolutely everything. But the thing is, when you fall, you fall. If you let yourself hit rock bottom, and like Alice, falling down that rabbit hole, eventually she lands on some leaves and branches and stuff, and she's not hurt. I did land. I wasn't hurt. And there was one word, which was harmony. Sorry, I can hardly speak talking about this. There was one word echoing around that kind of, it was like a dark cavern, harmony. And I thought, oh, there is something here. And I started to go to, when I could get myself out the flat, I started to go to vocal harmony workshops. For why, I don't know. I was attracted to African vocal harmony. And then after a few weeks, they said, oh, you're a drummer. Could you bring a drum? And then I took a drum. And they said, wow, everything's just kind of, they actually used the word activated. It was so much more activated. Man, it's all starting to come together. And then a friend of mine, she said, oh, you like singing? Someone I met there. She said, I'm going to take you to this festival. You'll love this teacher. And she took me to this big marquee. It's full of people all waiting, and it was circular. And there was a space in the middle, and we're waiting for this teacher. And she said, come to the front. And so we're looking, where's the teacher? And then she just pushed me into the center of the circle. She said, hey, everybody, this is the teacher I've been telling you about. Can we have a big hand for Tom Morley? And they all applauded. And I thought, what do I do? You know, she knew I could run it. I didn't know I could run it. And I thought back, I'm sure John Sebastian Kaner helped me right then, because I just sang a couple of things that I sang, and they weren't bang on tune, but I said to them, look, in that way of the jester, I said, look, you can hear I can't sing it, but when you sing it, it's going to sound great. And of course, they could hit all the notes that I couldn't hit. And someone said that was afterwards. I mean, we sang for an hour. They kept singing over to lunch, to the lunch tent. They didn't want to stop. And they said it was a really good trick, that pretending not to be able to get it right, because that empowered us to help you. And I just thought, bloody hell, this is so easy. You know, all I've got to do is be authentic. And what is easier than being authentic if you live with a mindset of collaboration rather than competition? If you live with a mindset of competition, it's difficult to be authentic. But if you just think, all right, I'll sing you what the song should sound like, you sing it back to me, all 200, 300 of you. And it sounded amazing. So but the great thing was that, and another experience with a drum taught me that you need very, very little of the trappings of the music business to be a musician. You don't need anything, actually. You just need a field and some people.
Yeah,
you know.
and I think that's become evident too in the online work you've been doing, because you have us there with, like, I was shaking my vitamins in a container, and I had a wooden spoon and I was banging that. So we didn't need a lot of money to participate, and I think there was around about 50 to 70 people on the call that we were on, and we all had our different instruments, and we were all thought we were in sync. You had us muted, but we were participating, and it was beautiful. But thank you for sharing that that story of how you transitioned into doing what you're doing now. And a lot of the experiences that I've had with you are starting to come it's making sense now. Now I know why you're so good with the African music, and I can see that the transition was embedded there as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's good to actually put it together like this, because these are all bits of a jigsaw that I put together in different ways, depending on who I'm talking to. But we're making a good picture. I think it's great that you started with Alice, because that's a really clever thing to do. Get into kind of visual imagination straight away. It makes the rest of the time together easy.
Well, you've brought the music and the story to the episode here with your own experience and your own wisdom, and that's a real blessing for everyone, because I know that you have this tremendous gift that is missing in the world, and it comes down to, I'm not going to say collaboration, I'm going to say harmony, because you use that word harmony. It's when we're all in this together and getting along together, and that's such a beautiful gift that you have, to be able to activate that rock star within us that gives us that ability to join together in rhythm and harmony. And it's such a beautiful gift that we need right now, because we see, when we look out into the world's landscape, we see so much polarization, so much competition, and so many people going against each other. It's happening in so many different countries.
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful gift to bring us all together. So I'm really grateful for that. As I'm going to start winding up now, I know that there's so many other things that I wanted to talk to you about, because we had this amazing conversation when we were in Santa Cruz around some of the beautiful charity work that you and your wife do, and some of the fun things that you do. I want to talk about one thing that you spoke about, which I think is just hilarious and amazing thing to do. Can you just share with us what you do with your friends when you go out and pretend you've just gotten up after a big night? I'm not going to say too much. You do this amazing thing that I think is so much fun, and I'd love for you to share this, because I think it could take over the world.
Yeah, well, this came from trying to get 2011. I was trying to get everybody together for a birthday party, and of course all my mates, whether they were busy or not, I'm not sure, but I couldn't do it in the evening. Oh no, I've got a gig, I've got I've got this, I've got that, oh no, I'm playing at a wedding. So eventually I said, look, I can't get you all together in an evening. How about Sunday morning at 8 o'clock? Are you booked? So they pretty much all said no. No, I think I'm free. So I said, all right, we're going to meet on Waterloo Bridge, and we're going to pretend we've been up all night. We're going to dress up in black tie, ball gowns. Women, please smudge your mascara, carry your shoes. Men, ties undone, top hats kind of asunder, scarves waving. And we're going to pretend we've been up all night, and we're going to recite poetry. We're going to sing. We're going to dance in fountains. And they said, but won't we get arrested? I said, no, the world will give us permission because they'll buy into the story that we've been up all night. And we call it black tie, white lie. It was only meant to be one party, but we've been doing it ever since in the summers in the UK, in London. We've changed the meeting time to 10 o'clock now. It still works. But it's quite amazing. And someone mentioned this in an article in The Guardian, and someone picked it up in New York. So now we do this kind of cross Atlantic events. They not at the same time, but we start in London, and then we send them films of us in London. Then they dance to us, dancing on the bridge in Waterloo. They dance in Times Square or something. So I would like it to go global because, excuse me, it's a way of giving not just us permission. And the thing is, I made this very clear from the start. If you're going to come, this is not a spectator sport. You come, you fully commit. And we don't drink. We have champagne bottles, but we have apple juice or something in them. Some people will bring a real bottle of champagne, but mainly it's sober. And then we all go and have breakfast at some outdoor cafe on the South Bank in London. But we pretend, of course, we're still drunk. We have this thing. There's various protocols to it. As we approach any cafe or any place where there's people, like a gallery or something, I say, right, I'm going to do the countdown, and I count down 4, 3, 2, 1, bang, and then we all burst into laughter as if we've heard the funniest joke. Someone's assigned to fall over. They're laughing so much. Someone else is assigned to pick them up. It's all theatre. But the amazing thing is, and again, Alice comes in here, all the kids want to come and surround us and see what's going on. Other people assume, they've given my wife roses. They have a bunch of flowers. Oh, have these for your... They just make their own story up. Have these for your wedding day. It looks like you've had an amazing time. Because they assume we've been up all night. So, or we're a theatre group. What show is it? What show have you just done? So we let them make up the story. But
I think that's beautiful, especially the way that you've just encapsulated the curiosity and fascination of a child, but then the adult who creates these assumptions, creates these narratives and stories without actually asking or finding out what's happened. They just assume, and we do that. We assume so much and we get so much wrong. So that's a really great.
And the kids just go, oh, it's adults, letting their hair down. Great. Does that mean I can join in? They don't need to hold this they don't need to hear the whole story. To them, it's like, oh, you've come to join our world. Great. Good.
Let's play.
And they love the fact that you can dance in fountains in your Sunday clothes. We've caused all sorts of mayhem.
That's beautiful. You're leading a really great example for our future, to let them know that it's okay to let your hair down and have some fun and play, because we sort of we deactivate that part of us, and you're activating not only the rock star but the playful child within.
That's exactly. I mean, you said that right at the beginning. We are this. We were saying it's not just innocent, airy fairy. Oh, I'm a child. I have no concerns. All I have to do is play. That isn't the state, but it is a curious state. Why is that so wrong? Why is that so right? Oh, I feel so great. I feel so angry. So it's all going on. But we provide this place. Yeah, come on then. Come on in. We're just going to be in your world and just be curious and not worry what anyone is thinking of us, because that's,
Curiouser and curiouser. So
Mm.
on that note, if people have, if you've piqued their interest and they're curious to work with you, find out more, follow you, how can they track you down?
Well, if this is a movie, let's put a slide up with all my Instagram, Facebook, da da da. But the other way, if you're just listening and you can remember my name, it's tommorley.com. I had a friend suggest get everything in one place, you know. So if you go to my website, Tom Morley, MORLEY, .com, then everything's there. Or you can email me from there and say, what was that black tie, white lie thing again? Can you tell me about that? I'm very happy. I'm not an insomniac, but I do reply to everything that people ask me about. When when I die, there'll be people at my funeral saying, "Yeah, Tom Morley, he was my best friend. He did everything. He did." And they'll go, "No, he was my best friend. Actually. No, he's mine." So there'll probably be a punch up, because if I get run over by a bus, you know, and they look at my laptop, they go, "He's obviously a filmmaker." No, he isn't. He's a writer. No, he isn't. He runs team building. He's always on the road. You mentioned being a polymath. It's I live a polymath life. So, but that's why come to tommorley.com and cage the polymath, and I can tell you everything from there.
Excellent. And I'd also like to invite anyone, because I know Tom is based in the UK, but if you're based anywhere around the globe and you're looking for something unique that is going to unite your team and activate the rock star within them, and if they've been working from home for quite a period of time and you want to bring them together in a magical and fun way, you know, online, Tom can be in your office, your virtual office from anywhere in the world. So definitely jump on board. I have participated. It's amazing and you will not be disappointed. So yeah, for all of our corporate listeners, and I know there's quite a number of you, pop this in your memory bank for the next team building, or even something just to welcome in the new year as well. So Tom, as we sort of round out, is there anything that you feel is, you know, moving through you, any sort of words of final words or any sort of wisdom that you would like to leave our listeners with, to whether it be to help them activate the rock star within, or whether it be to help them collaborate, or anything that we haven't spoken about that you've got a burning desire to share? Are there any final words for our listeners?
Well, the words that come are paradigm shift, because I had to walk my own talk to do what you've suggested. And if anybody is thinking of doing this as team building, they might be thinking, but there's a latency issue. We can't play in time. We can't sing in time. So my USPs were rhythm, getting everybody in time. I cannot do that online. We're all out of sync. Another USP, like vocal harmony, we're all on mute. You know, another USP was going to a faraway venue and saying, let's all get out of our comfort zones in private with the doors closed and the shutters down. Now they're doing it at home with their kids watching. So everything that I had in my kind of tool belt was taken from me. But I looked for the outcomes. I thought, what do they want? They want bonding. They want risk-taking, leading to more confidence as a team. They want connection. So I found a way to provide that, but I had to give up everything. Again, it was like having another breakdown. I didn't need to have the breakdown this time. I just needed to accept everything that was dear to me and was my tools was stripped away. But go for the outcome. Those are my final words, really. If you've lost your job, these stupid government things in the UK say if you're a ballet dancer, you can retrain in cyber. That's not the same outcome. As a ballet dancer, you want to kind of energize people and inspire them with, you know, grace and movement and fantasy in a way. So go for that outcome and find a way of delivering it online. The way I found was playing good music to people in their own homes. So they're dancing with me only hearing that music in their home, but looking at a screen of 30, 60 people who are all hearing the music in a different time in their home, but all dancing. But we're all dancing out of time at the same beats per minute. So if I play you a song at 130 beats per minute, you can be in Australia, you can be in America, you can be in Indonesia. We're all dancing at 130 beats per minute out of time, but looking like a pop video. It's quite amazing. So that's how I did it. But I had to, like I say, just focus on the outcomes, think of another way to get there.
Yeah, really wise words, and especially with what we've just experienced. And I know that's something that helped me. And thank you for the reminder to keep focusing on those outcomes, because when we do, the answer sort of shows up, doesn't it? And take those risks. And just want to mention to everyone that even though we might be dancing out of time, we're actually in sync. It's an amazing thing to watch, because, you know, I was part of an online group that Tom was leading, and we had Canada, Austria, France, UK, Australia, New Zealand, all the states of America. We had Brazil, the Dominion Republic, I think that was South Africa as well. So we had a global audience, and from a participant's point of view, we were in sync, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So absolutely, you know, as you say, this paradigm has to shift, that we can't connect and can't create this union online. It's absolutely BS. You
Yeah.
can.
And it's delivered us that. It's the idea that we'll go back to something. We would only go back to something smaller because we've been delivered something bigger, you know, much bigger and much more carbon neutral. And actually, it's a lot simpler to connect online. I know business people who used to fly to New York for a meeting because they'd be scared about making a mistake on Zoom and looking stupid. Imagine what that took in terms of energy. But so the pandemic has come not primarily to educate us in connecting in these much easier ways and bigger ways, as you've just described, global. But we should have done that work 10 years ago. Now we've all had to do it. So the crisis has delivered us something amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Tom. I've loved sharing space with you and jamming with you. And we didn't get to hear any tunes or any beats, but that's okay. I just want people to jump on board to your social media and just see what you get up to, because it is freaking amazing.
Well, look, we could. Yeah, I mean, you can always mix something in. That I can send you the videos if you want to end with a blast.
Why not? Let's do that. Thank you so much, Tom.
All right.
Whatever happened to the art of? Whatever happened to the art of? Whatever happened to the art of conversation? It's on the tip. It's on the tip. It's on the tip of my tongue. There is a word for it. I'm asking everybody in power because I think we could learn from it. It describes a commitment to a cause. You're a star but without the applause. How come they've never heard of it? Whatever happened to dedication? Whatever happened to transformation? Whatever happened to the heart of the nation? Whatever happened to the art of? Whatever happened to the art of? Whatever happened to the art of conversation? Speak to me of visions and dreams. Open my eyes. Walk the talk and we're gonna see flags of freedom flying high. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Hey, oh, you and I. need more inverted commas, less parentheses.
Fewer!
The thesaurus arrives, but we say, we never sent for this. It's somehow wrong now to be clever. Curiosity's met whatever. Come on, people weren't meant for this. Whatever happened to inspiration? Whatever happened to liberation? Whatever happened to the heart of the nation? Whatever happened to the art of? Whatever happened to the art of? Whatever happened to the art of conversation? Speak to me of visions and dreams. Open my eyes. Walk the dog and we're gonna see flags of freedom flying high. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Hey, oh, you and I. Hey, oh, you and I. Whatever happened to the art of? Whatever happened to the art of? Whatever happened to the art of conversation?
Today is turning into the most curious adventure I've ever had.